The rain had just started when Serena Blake stormed out of the restaurant, her heels clicking angrily against the pavement. She had just ended a 3-year relationship in the most humiliating way her fiancé had, confessed to cheating, and worse. He acted as though it meant nothing, heartbroken but too proud to cry in public. Serena walked straight into the neon lights of Eclipse nightclub, determined to drown her pain in music and whiskey at the same time. Across the city, Billionaire Cole, tall, sharp-jawed, and the heir to a billion-dollar empire sat in his penthouse staring at the empty glass in his hand. His girlfriend had broken up with him hours earlier, tired of living in his shadow and craving fame more than love. For the first time in years, Damon felt the bitter sting of rejection. On impulse, he slipped on his jacket and drove into the night, ending up at the very same club as Serena. The bass throbbed through their veins, the air heavy with perfume, sweat, and broken promises. Serena ordered another drink, her vision already blurring. Damon leaned on the bar beside her, his loosened tie and tired eyes making him look less like the billionaire he was and more like a man running from himself. One laugh led to another drink. One dance led to another shot. And before either of them knew it, the world had melted into a dizzy haze of flashing lights and reckless freedom. When the night finally collapsed into morning, the two strangers stumbled into the grandiose hallway of Crystal Hotel. Serena, swaying, fumbled with a keycard. Damon, just as drunk, followed her in without question. Neither noticed the number on the door, neither cared. The next thing they knew, sunlight was piercing through. The next morning, Serena sat up, clutching the sheets to her chest, her head pounding. Damon groaned, running a hand through his messy hair. Their eyes met, and the reality of the night crashed in. How did I end up here? She whispered, her voice a mix of shock and shame. I should ask the same thing, Damon muttered, his jaw tightening. He stood buttoning his shirt, his composure quickly returning. Reaching into his wallet, he pulled out a few crisp bills and placed them on the nightstand. Let's just forget this happened, he said firmly. Serena's eyes flashed with defiance. She pushed the money back toward him. I don't need your money for the first time in a long time. Damon was caught off guard. He nodded once, almost respectfully, and walked out without another word. The door clicked shut. Serena sat in silence, her heart racing. It was only when she shifted on the bed that she noticed something glinting on the table, a sleek black business card. She picked it up, her eyes widening at the bold silver letters. Damon Cole, C.L. Cole Enterprises. Her lips parted. A billionaire. The night that was supposed to be forgotten had just left her with a secret that could change everything. Weeks slipped by, but Serena couldn't shake the night at the Crystal Hotel from her mind. She had told herself 100 times to forget it. Forget the stranger with storm gray eyes. Forget the heat of his touch. Forget the shame of waking beside him. Plans that began with little things. She started throwing up. Her friend Sandra asked her, "Are you okay? Am I just tired?" in ways she couldn't explain. Then came the nausea one afternoon while at the salon where she worked. Serena rushed into the bathroom and threw up violently. Her friend Sandra stared at her with wide eyes when she returned, pale and trembling. "Serena, are you sure you're not?" "You know," Sandra voice trailed off, her brows lifting suggestively. Serena laughed nervously, shaking her head. No, that's impossible. It was just one night." But the laughter died when Amara whispered, "Sometimes one night is enough." That evening, unable to silence the growing fear inside her, Serena found herself walking into a small hospital on the outskirts of town. She sat in the waiting area, her heart racing, her palms clammy. Minutes felt like hours until finally a nurse returned with a sheet of paper and a small knowing smile. "Congratulations, Miss Blake," the nurse said softly. "You're pregnant." The word echoed through Serena's mind like thunder. Pregnant? She clutched the paper, her vision swimming in an instant. Damon's face flashed before her eyes. The man she had sworn to forget, the billionaire who had left her. Nothing but a business card and a memory she couldn't erase now she carried. More than just a memory she carried. His child the paper in. Serena's hands felt heavier. Then stone she stared at the word pregnant over and over again as if the letters would somehow change. But they didn't that night. When her closest friends gathered in her small apartment, Serena finally broke down and told them the truth. I'm pregnant, she whispered, her voice trembling. Her friend, Sandra, the blunt one of the group, slapped her palm against the table. Then you need to find the father, Sandra said firmly. You can't change the baby's bloodline or what you want to end up a single mother. Another friend leaned closer, voice low, or maybe you should abort it before it's too late. Serena's eyes filled with fire. No, I will not abort my baby. This child didn't ask to come into this world. But now that it's here, I'll protect it with everything I have. Her friends fell silent. The decision was made the next morning, heart pounding with courage. She didn't know she had. Serena slipped Damien's black business card into her purse and made her way to the gleaming glass towers of Cool Enterprises. The building rose high above the city, powerful and intimidating, just like the man himself inside. The reception area was all marble floors and cold stairs. Serena stepped to the front desk, clutching the card. I am here to see Mr. Damien Cole, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The receptionist looked up with practiced politeness, fingers pausing over the keyboard. Do you have an appointment? No, but it's urgent. No, but it's urgent. The woman's expression softened just a little, then turned regretful. I'm sorry, miss. The CEO left for an international trip 2 days ago. He won't be back for several weeks. The words hit Serena like a door slammed in her face. She walked out of the building, the weight of her unborn child pressing against her more heavily than ever. For a moment she thought about giving up, thought about going back home and pretending none of this ever happened. But deep inside, Serena knew this was just the beginning. Damien Cole could run to the ends of the earth, but one day soon he would have to face the truth. He was about to become a father. Far away in London, Damien Cole sat alone in his hotel suite, the city lights spilling across the glass walls. He had just closed another billion-dollar deal, yet the victory felt strangely empty. He loosened his tie, poured himself a drink, and leaned back in his chair, his mind embittered, drifted back to that night in the Crystal Hotel. The stranger with soft brown eyes who refused his money, the only woman who had ever walked away from him without wanting anything in return. Damien ran a hand over his face and whispered to the silence, that girl, I wish I could see her again. Meanwhile, back home in Lagos, Serena's world had grown smaller and harder. Her once graceful figure was now heavy with pregnancy, and her boss at the salon had quietly let her go. You've grown too lazy, they said. Clients don't like waiting for you. Each word cut like glass. With no steady job and her savings running out, Serena was forced to find another way to survive. So under the blazing sun she carried trays of chilled sachet water, calling out on busy streets, pure water, cold pure water. Her feet ached, her back throbbed, but she pushed on, sweat dripping down her face every time she felt like collapsing. Her hand rested on her growing belly and she whispered, I'll make it for you no matter what it takes. The city rushed past her, indifferent to her struggle, but Serena walked on, her heart heavy with pain and unknowingly tied to a man thousands of miles away who couldn't stop thinking about her. Serena's belly grew heavier with each passing month, and so did her burden. The world around her wasn't kind. Neighbors whispered, friends avoided her, and even her family treated her like a mistake waiting to happen. Every morning she rose before dawn, balancing a tray of chilled sachets of pure water on her head, walking through crowded markets and dusty streets. Pure water, cold pure water, she called out, her voice breaking under the heat of the sun. Some days she earned enough for food, other days she went to bed with only a glass of water, rubbing her belly and whispering, don't worry my babies, I'll keep you safe. But the Pregnancy made things harder. Her back ached, her feet swelled, and sometimes the weight was too much. Once in the middle of the marketplace, she collapsed on the ground, her tray spilling everywhere. Strangers helped her up, but the shame burned deeper then. Cuts on her knees at night, she lay awake in her small rented room, thinking about Billionaire, the man who didn't even know she carried his bloodline inside her. Sometimes she hated him, sometimes she longed for him, but most of all she feared she would never survive this journey alone. Then one stormy night, as thunder rattled the windows, Serena felt a sharp pain tear through her body. She screamed, clutching her stomach. Hours later, with the help of a kind midwife from her street, Serena brought not one but two tiny cries into the world. Twins, a boy and a girl. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she held them, her heart swelling with love so fierce it drowned out her pain. They will never suffer as I have, she whispered, kissing their tiny foreheads. Even if the whole world turns against us, I'll fight for you. And so began Serena's new life, not just as a struggling woman, but as a mother of two, carrying a secret that could one day change everything. Years rolled by like restless waves. Serena's twins, Ethan and Elena, grew into bright-spirited children. They were strong for their age, full of laughter and mischief, but their lives were far from easy. While other children carried books and wore crisp uniforms, Ethan and Elena carried trays of pure water, following their mother to the bustling markets. Every sale was survival. Every day was a test of endurance. Pure water, cold, pure water. Their small voices rang out, competing with the noise of hawkers, bus conductors, and blaring horns. One scorching afternoon, the children were crossing the roadside with their tray when a sleek black SUV swerved too close. The tires splashed through a muddy puddle, spraying them with dirty water. Their sachets tumbled to the ground, soaking in the mud. Hey, watch where you're going, Ethan shouted angrily. Fists clenched. The SUV screeched to a halt. The driver's door swung open and a tall man stepped out, dressed in an expensive suit. His presence made the crowd pause. Ethan and Elena froze. Serena, rushing toward them, froze too, because standing there in the middle of the market, wiping his sleeve with annoyance, was the very man Serena had once sworn never to forget. Damien Cole, the billionaire. Who didn't know he was their father? The air thickened, the noise of the market fading into silence as Serena and Damien locked eyes for the first time in years. Neither of them moved, neither of them spoke, but fate had just reopened the door they thought was closed forever. Damien stood in the market, staring at the twins, who glared up at him with fiery defiance. Something about them tugged at his chest, but he brushed it aside. He wasn't a man who believed in coincidences. He gave them money. Your pure waterfall inside death water because of me. Take this money. Forward, pressing a thick bundle of cash into Serena's trembling hands. She tried to refuse, but the man insisted, slipping a glossy black business card on top. Damien adjusted his cufflinks, slid back into the SUV, and with a brief glance at Serena, the car roared away. Serena stood there, frozen, her heart hammering. She had seen that card before, but in the chaos of the market, she shoved it into her bag and carried on with her children, too tired to think. That night, as she rummaged through her handbag looking for change, her fingers brushed against not one but two identical cards. Her breath caught one old and worn from years ago, the other brand new. She whispered in disbelief, this can't be. It's the same man, the father of my children. Her knees buckled and she sank onto the edge of her bed, clutching both cards in her hands. Meanwhile, across the city, Damien sat in his penthouse study, swirling a glass of whiskey. He replayed the image of the woman in the marketplace, her face streaked with sweat, her eyes flashing with quiet pride. Even in poverty, she looks familiar, he muttered. His assistant glanced up. Sir Damien shook his head quickly. Never mind, maybe I'm overthinking. But the thought refused to leave him. Serena had no plans of going out that night. Her heart was heavy with worries about school fees, about the twins, about survival. But when her friend insisted she attend a birthday party, she reluctantly agreed just to escape her troubles for a few hours. The party hall glittered with lights, laughter, and the sound of music. Serena sat quietly at a corner table, trying not to feel out of place among the wealthy and elegant crowd. Moments later, another guest was ushered to the same table. She didn't notice him at first, but when she shifted, turning his face slightly toward her heart nearly stopped. Damon, he blinked, staring at her as though struck by lightning. Slowly, recognition dawned in his eyes. You're the woman from the market, he said, his voice low but sharp. Then his gaze deepened, memories flashing. Wait, you're also the woman from that night? Serena froze, her breath caught in her throat. He leaned closer, suspicion battling with certainty. Are you following me? Her lips trembled before she could answer. Her friend Sandra. So you are the father of her twins? Night. Sandra's voice cut through the music like a knife. So you want to idiot the abandon my friend with her twins? Damon blinked, confusion and something colder flipping his face. What twins? He said too loudly. What are you talking about? Eyes flashed. The children I saw in the market are my child. Little ones who sell pure water are my. Will you allow my children to sell pure water on the street? Serena laughed, venom bright. She reached and slapped him across the face so sharply the cufflink caught the light. Shameless, useless. Do you even know how many times I came to your company looking for you? Cavendish, that's nice, and left me with a business card, you idiot. Damon froze, tears dropping out of his eyes. Serena's hands went cold on the rim of her glass. Her voice came out small but clear. I went. They told me you'd left for travel. She swallowed. I tried to find you. Damon's face moved through disbelief, anger, then a look Serena had never seen. Something like dawning guilt. People leaned forward, phones were raised, the band's music blurred into white noise. No one spoke for a second that felt like an hour. Then Damon opened his mouth, but the words didn't come. The whole room waited, breath held, waiting for what he would say next. The birthday hall was still buzzing when Damon, shaken to the core, turned on his phone's voice recorder. His voice trembled, but he spoke clearly for everyone to hear. If all these things are really mine, he said, looking at Serena, then let's find the truth once and for all. The very next day, Serena and Damon, along with Ethan and Elena, went for a DNA test. The weight was heavy, every second stretched into eternity. Finally, the envelope was handed over. Damon's hands shook as he tore it open. The result was clear. The twins were his children. He froze, his breath caught, tears, hot and unexpected, spilled down his face as the weight of his mistakes crashed over him. Slowly, he walked to Serena, his voice breaking. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for every tear you shed, for every night you suffered alone. From today, you will never know suffering again. The twins clung to their mother, watching as Damon pulled her gently into his arms. The crowd that had gathered whispered and wiped their own eyes. Within weeks, Damon did what many thought impossible. He married Serena, not in secret, but in a grand wedding, where the world witnessed the union. From that day forward, Serena and her twins no longer hawked water in the sun. They walked proudly into a new life with Damon by their side, not just as a billionaire, but as a husband, a father, and finally the man who had found his lost family. This story teaches us that life can change in just one night, and sometimes mistakes lead to destinies we never expected. It shows the pain of abandonment, the strength of a mother who never gave up, and the power of truth. In the end, love, forgiveness, and responsibility brought healing, not just for Serena, but for her children. To no matter how far people drift apart, if it is destined, life will always bring them back together. And when the truth comes out, love can finally find its rightful place. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit subscribe button so that you will get notified, so that you don't miss our next story.